Welcome back to Real Shit, where we like to talk real shit all day, every day, all for the love of movies. I am Joe. Before I get into it today, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Any little bit of feedback or support would be greatly appreciated. I'm going to get right into it. So, I talk a lot about this on this channel, and to be quite honest, it's getting a little bit old at this point, but it just keeps happening, and I'm not really understanding what exactly is the purpose of doing this, what the purpose is of actively slandering one human being when he really hasn't done anything wrong. And I also talk a lot about how the media and social media has an influence over the general public, and they use that influence and they actively try to push certain things down your throat and try to slander other things, and it manipulates people's minds. It turns them into these hateful people that just have it made up in their mind that they hate a certain person or they hate a certain person's work, and that seems to be what's happening. So as far back as I can remember, and I'm going to take this back to at least when Batman vs. Superman was first released, and I remember specifically sharing a post on Facebook, I believe, where it was basically people giving their first reactions. You know, every movie has one when they're first released. Well, there was this post and everyone was giving their first reactions. Everybody was talking about how great Batman vs. Superman was, how it was a masterpiece, it was a game changer, all these great, these great responses to this movie and to Zack Snyder's work. And I was hyped, to be quite honest. I was thrilled. That's just what I wanted to hear. I was already looking forward to the movie, obviously. I was going to see it no matter what. But it's just nice to know that I'm going into something that I'm probably most likely going to like or appreciate. But then, that same weekend, after the movie actually had its release on Friday or Thursday or whatever the date was that it was actually released, maybe a Wednesday. But whatever the case may be, after it was actually released, there was this active campaign by the media. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, everybody in the media just hated this movie. They thought it was a complete waste of time, it missed the point, it doesn't understand the characters, all this crazy stuff, basically trying to denounce Zack Snyder's work, trying to belittle it. And it came as a bit of a shock to me because I watched the movie and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't really explain where that disconnect came from. I thought maybe it was just a case of just people having different opinions, but the opinions from the media were so lopsided. There was no one who was really on the side of Zack Snyder and that movie. No one claimed to like it. And that was just a little bit puzzling to me. Not one of you actually enjoyed this movie. I find that hard to believe. And then that influenced the responses on social media, and people just piled on after that. And then it became cool, basically, to hate Zack Snyder and hate BVS. And I hear people all the time just actively bashing this man and saying they want to beat him up if they ever see him and how much they hate him. And he's never actually done anything. I mean, even if you don't like the movie, which is fine, you're entitled to that opinion, does that give you the right to say that he deserves to have his ass beat? I mean, there was a YouTube channel that I used to listen to that I really don't anymore, and I'm not really going to mention who because I really don't want that kind of... It's not about throwing shade at anyone, but there was people on that channel that would actively just say how much they hate Zack Snyder for no apparent reason, and it was how they would, again, just cause him physical harm if they ever encountered him, and I don't understand what he did. It's not like he's a Ryan Johnson type figure who, when people came out and criticized his movie, he was basically Ryan Johnson was basically you're all stupid, you're all misogynist, you're all racist, whatever the case. He actively just rallied against people who had issues with his movie. And that was the quality of the movie, not necessarily those things that he was talking about. The quality of the movie wasn't there, but he didn't want to hear that. He turned it into something else, and he fired back and lashed out. Zack Snyder, to my knowledge, has never really lashed out at anyone. For all the abuse that he's taken, he deserves to lash out, to be quite honest. He's never really lashed out at anyone. And it comes to the point now where we're a little bit further removed from Batman vs. Superman, but there was this growing I guess you could say, this growing need for people to rally for Zack Snyder and to get his version of the Justice League put out, the Snyder Cut. And we've accomplished that. But even going back to why he initially had to leave the project, like he left the project because of a personal tragedy, and people were still ragging on him. And it's gone to the point now where he uses the song Hallelujah in the new trailer for the Snyder Cut, and people are rallying against that when actually he used that song as a tribute to his daughter who he lost in that tragedy. And people are still rallying against this guy. Like, everything he does is nitpicked to no end. Like, he could do everything exactly like your favorite director does, or your favorite, I hate to say it, but your favorite Marvel director does, and you would still find a reason to hate this man, and I don't understand why. Like, he gets ridiculed for shit that other people get a pass for. And in many cases, he's better than a lot of these people that you rally so hard for. I mean, visually, there's not many people who can stand up with Zack Snyder. I'm sorry, but his visuals alone, his artistry in that manner, makes him worthy of most people's respect. And he doesn't get any respect. And I just don't understand why. So, even after his time away from the DCEU and all of his personal stuff, and then finally with the release the Snyder Cut movement and everybody getting behind him and basically saying we want to see Zack's vision complete, and WB obliged, and I've given them so much credit for doing so. Like, they listen to the fans, and that's what you should do as a movie company, to be quite honest. The fans are the people that you need to please because they're the ones buying your product. So then comes this week at DC Fandom, and basically what's going on now is that the trailer was released, mostly from what I can see to positive reactions to people like myself and others. I see mostly positive reaction to it, but there are some people who are still skeptical, and that's fine. I mean, if you just don't like the direction of Zack Snyder's DCEU, then you're probably not going to like the Snyder Cut either, and I understand that. I'm not saying everyone has to agree with me or anyone who likes Zack Snyder's movies. I'm just saying there's a large fan base who is on his side, who likes his movies, and we'd really appreciate it if people stop trying to go at him and go at this movie and try to discredit it. Like, why can't you just shut up and not watch it? Like, why not just let people enjoy it? Because we've waited and fought for it for so long. But no, people are actively, once again, trying to criticize it. And this movement against Zack Snyder, like, I thought it would be kind of removed at this point. Like, we're so far removed from it that we wouldn't really need to deal with it anymore. And this isn't even a theatrical release. It's like a streaming release. So I thought maybe people wouldn't rally so hard against him. But it's already begun again. And this comes from on Twitter over the weekend after the trailer was released. You had people like Scott Mendelson. Now, if you don't know who Scott Mendelson is, I'm not going to get into it, but just go on Twitter and read through his timeline a little bit, and you'll get a clear view of who he actually is. He's a shill. That's what he is. I mean, he shills for Disney Star Wars. He probably shills for Marvel as well. So it's not really surprising to me that he is saying these things, but it's just another example of the media trying to manipulate the common perception and trying to, again, discredit that the Snyder Cut is even a thing or that it even needs to exist. So basically what he did was that after the trailer was released, Scott Mendelson came out and he tweeted, so that trailer for the Snyder Cut of Justice League looks like the same movie, ? Lots of deleted scenes from the marketing campaign, but otherwise it looks like alternate takes of existing scenes. So, of course, I can't say of course because I've never even seen him do this, but actually Zack Snyder responded to him and basically retorted and said, you said you enjoyed the theatrical cut of Justice League like you enjoy your Saturday morning cartoons. Well, this is made for grown-ups, so you're not in the demographic. Also, cool of you to comment on a leaked teaser at Scott Mendelson. And of course, Scott Mendelson, being the shill that he is, being the person who probably can't have a conversation with anyone, he just wants his opinion retorted back to him, or he just wants to scream into a void and just have no one respond. But because Zack responded to him, then he got defensive, and he was basically, all due respect, why do you keep presuming I'm your enemy? Not every comment is this thing good or this thing bad. And basically he said that Zack was out of line for responding to him. Now I've seen a lot of people come to both sides' defense. Now, as far as the Scott Mendelson thing goes, I'm telling you right now, everything Zack Snyder said was on point to me, and he's fully justified in saying so. That's my personal opinion, and that's not just me being a Zack Snyder fan. I'm just saying the guy has never responded to anyone who has really rallied criticism against him, but now that he does, now it's a problem. Like, you need to just shut up and take it. If you're going to dish out criticism, then you need to be able to take it. So then we come to Scott Mendelson, and a lot of people basically said that, oh, he's a critic, he's allowed to do this, and blah, 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 and Zack should be a bigger man and just accept his criticism for what it is. Well, Zack has been accepting criticism for a long time and not saying a word, so I don't want to hear that. And as far as him being a critic, I mean, he's basically criticizing something that he hasn't seen. He's basically saying, he's trying to discredit the Snyder Cut and say it's not a real thing, like it's just the same movie reshot or with new coloring or whatever the case may be. Like, that's what he's trying to do. Like, don't give me this, oh, he's just taking it for what it is and being a critic. Like, that's not what these comments say to me. These comments say the Snyder Cut is a waste of time, it's not real, I don't know why you people are lobbying for this so much. Like, it's basically the same movie. That's what he's saying. And he's criticizing a movie that he hasn't even seen yet. He's just criticizing it based off the trailer. And yes, I know the trailer is, its prime purpose is to get people interested in the movie. So if that doesn't do it for you, then like I said, you're probably not going to like the movie anyway. But in the same token, he's discrediting the whole project just based off this trailer, which is basically a teaser trailer. And there was things in there that were reused, and that's probably because that was in his original plan, and I would expect him to use those scenes if they were a part of his original idea. If he just reshot the whole movie, then yes, that would seem even more disingenuous in my personal opinion. That would make it seem like the cut doesn't exist, in my personal opinion. Like, the fact that he's using shit that he already shot or that was already in the theatrical cut shows me that this is a real thing. Like, he really did have an original vision that was altered. Like, it's only justifying the need for the Snyder Cut rather than discrediting it. So as far as Scott Mendelson goes, like, he's out here criticizing something that he hasn't even seen yet. He's just basing it off the trailer. He's saying this doesn't exist and that people are wasting their time. And when he gets a little bit of criticism back, you know, he acts like a baby and he retorts and says Zack Snyder's out of line. Like, no, he's not out of line. This man has never done anything to anyone apart from make a movie that maybe you don't like. And I'm sorry, if you don't like that movie, then that's fine. Again, it's your opinion. But there are a lot of people who do like his movies. There's a lot of people who are looking forward to the Snyder Cut. And there are a lot of people who are going to watch the Snyder Cut when it's finally released. There's a reason that this trailer broke records as far as views. Because everybody, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people are anticipating this movie. Even if you aren't. So I'm just tired of this whole idea that Zack Snyder is somehow a bad filmmaker. He's not at all. Like, I don't know where this came from. Like, I almost feel like Zack Snyder must have pissed somebody off in Hollywood at some point, and that they sent their media dogs out to attack him and discredit everything he does, because there's no other really explanation for it. Like, there's plenty of people out there who make horrible movies, who continue to make horrible movies, and don't get as much criticism as Zack Snyder gets. And it's just a fact. Like, I'm sorry, you could look up anyone who just makes these shitty direct-to-DVD, direct-to-streaming movies. They don't get criticized to the level of Zack Snyder. Now, that to me is a little bit strange. Like, that to me, it just shows of an active campaign against him. Like, an active bias. Like, you're just biased against him. And if that's the case, then say so. Because if you're going to sit here and try to act like your opinion is completely unbiased and try to influence me on whether or not I should be excited for something or not, like, that's not going to happen. Like, I'm not going to listen to you if you're showing a clear bias towards someone. You could say the same thing about me, to be quite honest. I'm the first one to admit, and I've mentioned this many times, that I'm not into MCU movies. I'm not. There's some of them I like, most of them I don't, and it is what it is. And some would say I have an active bias against them, and that's why I don't like them. And you could maybe say that, sure, but at this point in the MCU, you pretty much know what you're going to get. Like, no offense to anyone, but there is a formula to it, and you know what you're going to get when you watch one. So, and that's basically my criticism of them, is that a lot of them follow the same beats, and it's very generic, and it's just kind of there. There's no creative freedom in these movies, and that's my main issue with them. So even if you want to look at it from that perspective, like, yes, you could call me biased, but at least there's a built-in, like, reason for that, and that all MCU movies are relatively on the same playing field. As far as Zack Snyder goes, he's made 2 movies in the DCEU. Even if he had a formula, even if he was by the numbers and he just did everything the same every time, which I don't think he does, but if he did, he hasn't even had a chance to actually do that, because 2 movies in the DCEU, that's not a pattern. That's not. And to me, Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman are very different movies. They are, and they share. They have their own themes. They have their own way of doing things, and they're very different. And I would assume that Justice League would be the same way. So I don't. Yes, they all fit together. Yes, they're all in the same universe, but they're not the same movie. It's not the same formula over and over again. Like, Zack Snyder's trying different things. He's reinterpreting things that have been in the comics for years, and there's nothing wrong with that. And this is why people don't like him, and it's because he has an interpretation of something. He's not doing a direct adaptation. He's not doing everything exactly the way it was done in the comic books. He's not pandering to the masses and making these light-hearted, goofy, basically big-budget comedies. No, that's not what he's doing. He's making real stories about characters that he feels like have a deep emotional core to them, and he's giving them an even deeper emotional core. And he's doing a fine job at it, and he's mixing his amazing artistic visuals in with it. And for some reason, people hate that. And this goes back to the video I made a few weeks ago about how people just want to hate on greatness, and that's what it is. Anytime anyone is good at what they do, people hate that person, and I don't understand why that is. Like, we should be appreciating these people, not hating on them. And that's just basically my issue here, and what it all stems from is just, I don't understand why Zack Snyder, of all people, gets slandered the way he does. Like, I don't understand it. I don't think he deserves it. You can not like his stuff and just respect what he does and just move on. But no, it's got to be people on... I just scrolled through the responses just to his response to Scott Mendelson, and it was just people just bashing him, saying he needs to go to film school, he needs to do this, he needs to do that. People who are sitting at home on their couches telling this man he needs to go to film school. Like, he's done more for film than you have done for anything or anyone in your life ever, probably. Let's be honest. And you're going to sit here and criticize him? Same thing with Scott Mendelson. Like, I'm sorry, but you're not the end-all, be-all of media to me. Your opinion means less than nothing. And for you to criticize a great filmmaker because you just don't understand his product, or you just don't get it, or just it's just not for you, like, I'm not taking you seriously. Like, your opinion means nothing to me. Your whole website and your whole YouTube channel mean nothing to me. And that's where it is. Like, I respect people who are good at what they do, and that's Zack Snyder. So that's basically all my thoughts on this. I will admit that it's not just Zack Snyder. There are other people who get unjustifiably criticized as well. And to be quite honest, most of the time, most DC movies get this criticism. And I already see it happening with the Robert Pattinson Batman as well. How people, even though the trailer was awesome, they're actively, like, trying to discredit it by, like, constantly showing the picture of him with the dark face paint and the hair in front of his face, and, like, saying he's like emo Peter Parker from Spider-Man 3, and making it into a joke, essentially. And I already see the media feeding into that, because that picture is everywhere. Like, every time anybody covers that movie, that picture is what they show. So I really feel like it's DC in general, and WB has, like, this active, like, bias against them from the media for whatever reason. But it's so much more with Zack Snyder, and I just don't understand it. And I really wish people would learn to appreciate him more, because he is very good at what he does. And he's, for all intents and purposes, he's a nice guy, too. Like, I've never seen him lash out really at anyone other than this right now. Maybe one or two other people, but those people probably deserved it. I mean, there's only so much. This guy is a human being. There's only so much a person can take when people are constantly trying to slander your art and slander your work. Like, I would lash out too. Like, I don't blame him one bit. So that's just my thoughts on this. I rambled on a little bit, but I just had a lot to say on the matter. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching, and peace out.